Hello, this is Bill Webb, aka Billy Indiana. Today I'm going to do another 3x3x3 review, this time for Trekking the World. This is a game created by Charlie Bink and published by Underdog Games. So let's take a look at this game and figure out what did I like, what are some things I think certain people might not enjoy, and what are some other games that I see have some similarities to this game. Let's check it out. Before we go into the review, let me give you a quick overview of how you play the game Trekking the World. So in Trekking the World, you're going to be taking your trekker, which is a little wooden figure, and you're going to be moving it around this beautiful board of the world from destination to destination. And you move around the board by playing these trekking cards, and you use the number to determine how many spaces you're going to move around that board. As you move, you're going to be collecting different souvenirs, crafts and clothing and figurines and different things, postcards. And as you collect them, they're little wooden cubes of different colors, and you're going to put them in your suitcase. And the suitcase has a different line for each type. So yellow is for crafts, and the blue is for figurines, and the black is for clothing, and the white is for postcards. And you get points for having the most of any type, and you also get points, as you can see across the bottom here, for having full sets. There's these nice little thick cardboard tiles that award you points for having the most of the different types at the end of the game. And as you're traveling around to the different spots, you can also choose to use the multi-purpose trekking cards in sets to visit different destinations, like the Sydney Opera House for 2 red cards that have the camera on it. So you can play those cards in any variety of ways. So like here you can see Mount Fuji, Grand Canyon, I need 2 yellow and a blue. Eiffel Tower, I need 2 red and a purple. And Mount Fuji, I need 2 green. And so as you collect those cards and turn them in as sets, you can take a tour at those destinations. And each destination has a certain number of points. You also, if you can complete collecting all the souvenirs from any one of the regions in the area board, you can collect a bonus for having finished off all taking the last souvenir from that place on the board. In the end, you're going to add up your points from your suitcase bonuses, from your most souvenirs of any one type bonuses, from the region bonuses you collect, and from the points on the destinations that you tour, and see who gets the most points. One other opportunity you can make on your play is you can choose to take a journey that's a little bit more different, a little more random. And every game, there are going to be 2 of these journey cards. And they say things like, change the color of one of the souvenirs in your suitcase so you can have a better chance of getting one of the bonuses, or moving an extra distance, or gathering new cards, or taking a destination tour for a cheaper cost. And so you have that as an option during your turn as well. So that's a very quick overview. It's not meant to instruct how to play the game, but just to give you a feel for how the game works. And it's a pretty quick game, about 30 to 60 minutes. So what did I like about Trekking the World? Well, first, it's a beautiful game. As you can see just briefly in those holding the pictures up, the art on the cards is beautiful. The board is beautiful. There's just this really cool game tray that holds everything nicely. So that's really cool. The box art is beautiful. Everything about the game is just really well made. The components are nice. So it is a very attractive game, and it's also informative. So when you gain these destinations, as you take a tour of these destinations, you get the great art on the front, but then you can also flip it over and read information about the destination for every place you might visit. So there's some cool information as well as just gorgeous art. The second thing that I like is that it is a very easy to teach game. It's an easy to learn game. And as I said, it's a pretty quick game. So if you're trying to teach it to new players, it's just convincing them, hey, it's a 30 to 60 minute. They're not giving up this 2 or 3 hours to learn a game that they may or may not like. And so that's a really attractive feature for me because we like to teach games to our friends and family members, and talking to them about playing for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and showing them the beautiful art. That ease of play, that ease of jumping into the game is definitely a nice advantage, and the ability to play a game pretty quickly. If they really like it, you can turn around and play it a second time right in a row. And yet, that leads me into the third thing that I really like about it. In spite of this easy-to-learn game with a short playtime, it packs quite a bit of strategy in there. And there's also a fair bit of replayability. So every time when you set up the board, you put the cubes out that represents the souvenirs in a random manner. So they're going to be in different positions every game. And then the journey cards that you can choose. There's always two of them. These journey cards that give you a different option to choose from during the game. There's always two of them, and there's, as you can see, a pretty good pile. You're always going to choose one of the purple backed and one of the tan backed, and you're going to have two different ones every game, so there's some replayability that way. You have 4 destination cards showing at any one time, and so as they get purchased, a new one comes out, and so that's going to be a random assortment of how they come out, what order they come out. The last game we played, it seemed like Asia, all the places in Asia just kept coming out. And so we all ended up focusing in on around Asia. But in another game, it could be spread all over. So there's quite a bit of variety as you play. And you can take a few different strategies. You can really focus on trying to collect the cards to use those journey features to use those kind of special bonus actions. Or you can focus on trying to really maximize your points through gaining souvenirs and traveling all over, but maybe not getting as many of the destination cards. You can also choose to just get as many destination cards as possible, or you can try to go for the ones that are worth the most points. So lots of strategy, lots of variety in the replayability. And another element of strategy that I think is really neat about this game is you're required to move first. Now you have the option of flying from an airport to another airport before you even take your move action if you start your turn in an airport. But once you've done that, if you do that, you're always going to have to move before you can take any of your other actions of going on a journey or taking a tour of one of the destinations, or you can also draw cards during your turn. But before you can do any of those actions, you have to move your trekker. And so you have to be thinking ahead a couple of turns because you want to make sure you're collecting the right colored cards to be able to gain the destination, but you have to move before you play those cards. So you have to sort of almost sneak up on that destination while you're gathering the cards you need to take the tour there. And so you're basically thinking 2 or 3 turns out, timing the movement of your trekker, trying to accomplish maybe gathering souvenirs as you're moving, so you're not sort of wasting a turn, and at the same time making sure you get to that destination with the correct card set that you need to claim it before somebody else does. So there's a bit of strategy built into this game that I think adds some depth in spite of its simple ability to learn and teach and a quick game. So what are some things about this game that either we didn't enjoy or we could see other people maybe not appreciating so much? Well, the first thing I could see maybe being a turnoff for some people is it should play from 30 to 60 minutes. But if you are playing with someone who really suffers from analysis paralysis, because of that strategy of having to think about, well, I need to move here so I can get that souvenir, and then I need to draw a card so I have the right set, and then I need to go to that destination on my next turn, and you're just thinking multiple steps ahead, I can see some players who tend to be prone to analysis paralysis. That could extend the game beyond what it should be played at, in my opinion. So that could slow the game down, and that could be a turnoff if you're playing with a lot of people who have that tendency and you don't want the game to slow down that way. The second thing that I could see potentially being negative for some players is it can be aggressive because you can sometimes tell what someone is going for, and you can try to block them in a way where you know what cards they need, so you take them. So some hate drafting possibilities when you're taking the trekking cards. There is a race, so if you've been really building up to try to get a certain destination and someone is able to swipe it before you, you may not enjoy that aspect of it. And you could, see someone is trying to get a particular souvenir and then just cut them off and take it before they can get there. So there are ways there is some player interaction that's not directly take that, but it could be aggressive enough that it could turn off some players. Now, in my family, we tend to just play pretty non-aggressive no matter what the game it seems like, and so most of the time we're just sort of playing our own game, and occasionally we might do something that will hinder someone, but half the time we're not even trying to. It just happens because of the race feature of the game. But I could see some people getting pretty nasty, and that could turn off other players. The third thing, and now I'm really getting nitpicky because there's not really much that I don't like about the game, but it is a bit of a table hog, so you need a reasonably sized table because the game board is big. It's a map of the whole world, and then you need to have a row of the destination cards, and you need to have a row of the trekking cards, and then you need to have the coins above the destination cards because you do get special bonus coins or victory points for taking tours at certain destinations. And then you need your own player area for your suitcase. And so it's not huge, but it takes up a fair bit of space. So, that could be if people don't have a big table or appreciate games that take up a less amount of acreage on their table. That may be a drawback. I enjoy the size and grandeur of it, and like I said, I'm getting pretty nitpicky, but that's about the only other thing I can think of that people might not enjoy. So those are 3 things that we like about it, 3 things that I could see maybe certain players not enjoying about Trekking the World. And now what are some games that if you like Trekking the World, you might also like these other games? Or if you like these other games, you might like Trekking the World. Well, the first one is kind of the obvious choice, and that is Trekking the National Parks. It's also by Underdog Games and Charlie Bink, and it has a lot of similarities. I would say the main difference is in this one, you don't have to move before you take your other actions. Moving is one of your actions. And so what often happens in this game is people get to a certain spot and they just kind of hang out there while they're collecting the trekking cards they need in order to take a tour at that destination, so to speak. The terminology is a little bit different, but visit the park. So it's a little bit different. I think it's slightly less strategic. There's a little bit less going on. There's a lot of similarities. You're collecting these little beads instead of souvenir tokens, and you're trying to get the most of those colors and for the beads. But there doesn't have the journey cards. There's something a little simpler. So I could see this one maybe being a little bit slightly simpler version, a little bit shallower strategy, but still very beautiful and still a lot of fun. So that is one that you might enjoy if you like Trekking the World. Another one that I see some real similarities with is Ticket to Ride. In Ticket to Ride, you're also moving all over the world. In this case, you're actually, as most of you probably know, putting trains together and making a route. But you have certain tasks you're trying to accomplish, kind of like the destination cards. You're trying to get a route from one location to another. And you're also collecting sets of the train cards. And so there's that set collection. There's that almost, it's not really route building in Trekking the World, but you're trying to get to those destinations and you're trying to use those sets to get there, like you're using the sets to complete your routes here. So I can see a lot of overlap in style of play between the two. I think Ticket to Ride is slightly less complex unless you have some of the expansions that add a little bit more to it. Both, I think, are really fun games, and I see a lot of similarities. I think if you like Ticket to Ride, you probably like Trekking the World and vice versa. Another one that I think might be a good match, and this one's a little different, but it is Five Tribes. And here's how I would compare Five Tribes. In Five Tribes, it's more of a Mancala action where you're moving around the board, but as you're moving, you're picking up things in that Mancala action. Now, in Trekking the World, when you go, you don't pick up all the souvenirs you pass through. You only pick up the souvenir where you finish your turn. But there's that same thing of picking up those items and using them for scoring. And there's also the set collection that you have in order to do the destinations. And in Five Tribes, there's also some set collection action. As you're gaining cards, you can use those cards to help your ability to gain victory points in Five Tribes as well. So I see some overlapping there with the movement, with picking up things as you're moving, although it's Mancala style in Five Tribes, and then also some set collection of cards. I think Five Tribes is a little bit thinkier game. Maybe a little more complicated to teach, but still pretty easy. And we really like both games, but I could see people liking Five Tribes and Trekking the World. I think there may be a similar kind of gamer there. If you like, you think you might like both games if you like one or the other. And then the final one is Parks. Now for Parks, you don't have this big map where you're traveling all over, but instead you're hiking through a park. But as you go, you're also then collecting sets, and you're using those sets to then basically take a tour or visit a destination of a different park. And so that's a very big similarity. And then another similarity is the art in this game is also just incredible, as is Trekking the World and Trekking the National Parks. So if you love the beauty of the nature and you love the imagery of that kind of Parks game or Trekking the World game, you're going to see that crossover. Great components also in Parks, like this little nice wooden figures. And if you like that set collection process, I think you'll probably like Parks as well. So those are 3 things I liked about Trekking the World, 3 things that may turn some players off, and then actually 4 games that I think have some similarities to Trekking the World. Hope this video was helpful for you and informative. If it was, it'd be great if you'd click the like button down below. And I think it'd be terrific if you'd subscribe to the channel. If you want to get notifications of when future videos are posted, click on that bell icon. And I'd love for if you'd leave a comment down below. Have you played Trekking the World? Have you played Trekking the National Parks? Have you played any of these other games that I recommend? And if so, what do you like about it? Is there something else you like about Trekking the World that I didn't mention, or something you didn't care for that I didn't mention? Are there other games that you think are similar? I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. As always, thanks for watching. This is Billy, Indiana, signing off.